Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tank Observers podcast. My name is Jackson McCarty, as always joined by my co-host Chris Spar. And Chris, what are we doing today?
We're doing Superlatives again.
Yes.
Go back and watch all the other ones if you haven't yet. But if you have, then stick around because we're going to talk about Micah Parsons and all the other linebackers out of this draft class.
Yes,
because it's what we do.
Yes, indeed. We've been getting our superlatives lists done kind of intermittently. We've been hitting the Senior Bowl. We did a mock draft. We're bringing it back for now. Not sure if we're going to have secondary superlatives next, which would wrap up the series, or if we'll try to add something else in. But let's just zone in on the linebackers for right now. First off, Micah Parsons has been the longtime linebacker one, but we didn't feel it was fair to give him Prom King. So, Topher, what did we end up settling on for him?
Micah's the biggest enigma because he didn't play.
No.
So we haven't seen him in a year.
Yes.
His talent is undeniable, but now his character is being called into question, and there's just a whole mess of things going on with him. This skid's certainly affecting his stock, otherwise we wouldn't call it a skid.
Yeah.
But I do believe he's still the top linebacker in this class. He's really is just that much. He's a step above the rest of the talent, in my opinion.
I think he's earned the linebacker one spot over time. I will admit that I like the guy we'll talk about second more. I personally prefer him as a talent, but I understand why Micah Parsons is linebacker one. But with the opt-out and with the potential character concerns, which a lot of that story didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It said he was hazing a freshman, but he was a freshman. And usually freshmen do not get to participate in the hazing.
Usually freshmen aren't hazing other freshmen. Usually freshmen stick together and get hazed at the same time.
And the Sandusky comment, it seems like Penn State has worked really hard at getting rid of that label. You would think that somebody would have been kicked off the team had somebody heard that.
Yeah, probably. They've been trying to keep him out of their own headlines, and Micah brings them back into him, and they don't just disown him as a player.
Yeah, it's just
like really.
He's got his support, and hopefully it'll go away and be proven wrong by the time the draft is here. But for now, it is certainly an impact. He's not fresh in our minds from playing, as we've mentioned multiple times now. He opted out, so it's hard to get a firm feel on where he's going to be going on draft night. The man who I personally think, I'm not going to speak for my co-host here, I think this man has solidified himself as linebacker 2, and we have given him the most versatile tag. Topher, tell me a little bit about Zaven Collins.
Zaven Collins is most versatile, and for good reason. He can run everything you would need a linebacker to do.
Yes.
His off-ball skills aren't as good as maybe someone who specializes in that, like Quan Alexander, but he can do that with plenty of ability and skill.
Yeah.
He can play a stand-up edge, same way, you have your Tremaine Edmonds that can run the stand-up edge on the outside. And frankly, Miles Jack, who is more of an off-ball linebacker, he's also one of those jack-of-all-trades type players that can absolutely run the edge if you need him to, which I think is weird, and he hasn't done it since like his freshman year or rookie season. But yeah. But back to Zaven Collins, he can do that, and he can run the middle, and he can run weak side and strong side linebacker. He runs every position at the linebacker spot. So yeah, linebacker 2 is a solid spot for him because he's going to be running whatever the team needs him to. So why wouldn't a team want this guy?
The perfect thing for me with Zaven Collins, which as we're talking about most versatile, I should tell you some stats. 54 total tackles last year, was down from his 85 and 97 the year before.
Yes.
But 7.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles.
Yeah, he can do it all. He's stopping the run, he's playing off ball, and he's getting after the QB. It's
exactly
nuts.
There's not a role in the linebacking core / edge, if you kind of want to mix those together. There's not a role in that alignment that he can't just take on head first. The most reassuring thing about his versatility is that you're not worried about him getting the Hassan Reddick treatment, the Isaiah Simmons treatment.
Hassan Reddick got a little abused in his first couple of years because he wasn't running the edge, which he should have been. He was an edge rusher. He wasn't
linebacker.
He wasn't
a Zaven
Collins.
No.
He was an edge rusher. He came off the edge. They moved him to middle linebacker for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Silliness.
That's the perfect thing. Saban, you don't have to worry about that because all of his roles do go into linebacker. He can play a little bit of edge, but I don't think you're going to stick him there full time because you know that's not what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no, it's it's a little reminiscent of Anthony Barr, except you're probably getting a little bit more pass coverage out of
it's a little bit more.
Collins.
It just sometimes you do get worried for like somebody I'm worried for, Hamza Nasruddin. It's safety, linebacker hybrid. A lot of coaches don't know how to use those guys. They get a little scared because they're like, you have to fit in one particular hole. Well, that doesn't. Well,
you have people that work out in that type of style, like Jamal Adams, who
Landon Collins,
got
Jeremy
very
Chin.
comfortable.
Jeremy Chin's on his way.
But then you have guys like Shaq Thompson who get stuck at linebacker full time, but never really get used properly.
Exactly. Zaven Collins feels pretty safe from getting that tag, but only time will tell. Next up, linebacker 3, the man from Notre Dame, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Topher. What label did we give him?
He got most intellectual, and if you really have to, if you're really pulling strings here, I mean, just look at where he's from. When you get players from Notre Dame, they are just coming out. They know the game of football really well.
Yes.
You know, there are players that come out of there. Just look at the offensive linemen. They're all
they have 3 All-Pros in the NFL right now, don't they?
First-team All-Pros, Pro Bowlers, in Ronnie Stanley, Quentin Nelson, and Zach Martin, all within the past 7 years now.
8 years.
Zach Martin was 7 years ago now. But still, all these recent talents coming from there, you're looking at other parts of the ball. You have Tyler Eifert, who had an insane season, another Pro Bowler. Yeah. And I'm sure linebackers are Jalen Smith. They're all coming out. They're also just going to be just intelligent. They're going to know the game of football inside and out.
Manti Te'o was that role for Notre Dame. I know he didn't quite translate as well to the NFL, but he fits that archetype that they've made. And that's exactly like you're saying, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. All you have to do is look at the alma mater, and it tells you the story. They do it all, smart leaders in their linebacking core, guys who can produce at a very high level. Koramoah does just that, and he has such a great understanding of what his position is. I could honestly see him fulfilling almost like a Landon Collins role.
Really?
Yeah, because he's got about the perfect size you'd want from a strong safety. And you've seen what they're using, how they're using Jamal Adams. They don't leave him on an island because that's not what you're supposed to do with him. No. I think Owusu-Koramoah could eventually turn into a role like that.
Really? Oh, yeah. Well, I could see him playing the sub linebacker. He's he just knows when he's in a particular part of the field what his job is. Yeah. And he's not going to get lost in the playbook. He's
a commander. He knows where the X's and O's are supposed to be, and he gets to the point.
You got to feel general. I could see him becoming a Mike for a defense.
Yeah, 100%. And that very realistically could be for a pretty solid defense when he gets to the NFL already. Looking at where he'll probably be picked, we're looking at anywhere between 15 to the end of the first. That's kind of the bread and butter of the picks, other than...
He falls to the Browns, get yourself a new field general. They were lost without Joe Schobert.
That
defense was lost without Joe Schobert. They could get a new field general.
I know we recently mocked Gregory Rousseau to the Browns because terrifying.
Yes,
but
just scary.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah could put them over the top. So, definitely something to consider. Browns, we will be expecting an invoice if you draft him because that was our advice.
We're just good like that.
Yeah. Bring us on. Have us in the war room. It'll be tons of fun. Next up, a man who we both expected to be very, very much higher than where he is now at the beginning of the season.
I believe I ranked him in the top 12.
I'm sure I did as well. One Mr. Dylan Moses from Alabama, who we have tagged with most concerning. Post knee injury, it feels like it's not all there. When you're watching him, it was like, because I tried to watch some tape not too long ago of him. And I watched a couple games from 2018. I was like, okay, this kid has something. And then I got into 2020, and I got about a game and a half in. I'm like, that's just not the same dude.
He lost a lot of explosiveness. He also fell pretty deep.
Yeah.
Out of the first round, he got punted.
Like, comfortably out of the first round.
But I'm not all out on him. I think that he's going to fall, but I think he's going to fall and then come out and maybe even be a day one starter. Because I believe that Dylan Moses is still an incredibly talented player. While his tape might be boring and he might have lost a step as far as his that first step's concerned with explosiveness, I think Dylan Moses is still one of the better linebackers in this draft class, and I think him being this low just speaks to the talent that's coming out.
If so many people hadn't really started developing, I would have agreed with he still has one of the better chances. I think he has a better chance than the guy coming up next. But we have Chaz Surratt. I think Cam McGrone is going to be a very good linebacker. I like Sanborn, Monty Rice, the three guys above him now. I think all of those guys have more athletic ability, which is what worries me about Moses now, because how close to his initial ceiling will he ever be able to get?
Well, that's a really good question, and one that I can't answer right now. I can't really tell you what his initial ceiling. Well, I know what his initial ceiling was, but what it is now, he doesn't have the same ceiling. But I think he still has he's still a star level player. Maybe he's not. He's not as fast as he was. He was an explosive athlete when he was healthy, but with the injury and his generic play style, it was obvious that he was going to fall after coming back.
Yeah, you only had to get a few games in. You're like, yeah, this isn't quite going how he wanted. I'd compare it to Marvin Wilson with these other three linebackers being Christian Barmore, Davion Nixon, and J.J. Fele. Marvin Nixon might have had the most talent out of all of them to start with, suffered an injury, doesn't look like the same athlete, and now they could be drafted as late as the third round. Both of them. Marvin Wilson, even later. It's just something to keep your eyes on, and he's a mixed bag just because it's so hard to get a firm grasp on who he is anymore. Next up, Nick Bolton, Topher. Go ahead and tell me what the Missouri Linebackers' initial or actual superlative is.
It's the biggest specialist, and it's for a good reason, and one that I label a red flag, but Jackson seems to disagree with me on that. His lack of pass coverage definitely hurts him, and it's why he's still under Dylan Moses, because Dylan Moses is still, despite maybe a speed hit with the knee injury, he's still one of the better off-ball linebackers in this draft class just because he's a do-it-all. He's a field general. He's going to sit in the middle of the field. He's going to lock down the middle of the field.
Right.
But Nick Bolton can't really do that because he gets lost in zone.
Yeah.
But his run-stopping speciality and his ability to hit the gaps and just kill in the backfield, just kill a run play and stuff it before it even starts, it makes him a specialist, and it's a very good talent. I just don't see him getting any higher than maybe a Blake Martinez or a BJ Goodson type player.
Which, yeah, that's a realistic expectation for him. But the appeal is you could go to, let's say, Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is a lot closer to complete than a couple other teams in that range. I think they would prefer Nick Bolton because they need a little bit more pressure anyways. They have good secondary with good coverage. Just let's get a linebacker who can really make some noise and be a staple in just crashing. I think that's the appeal. If your defense is pretty close to finish and maybe you feel confident, maybe it's the Saints.
The Saints could take him. They already have Demario Davis. And if you look at the Bills, Matt Milano's covering the middle of the field while they're sending Tremaine Edmonds in to kill the running back.
Yeah, there's just those teams that are just a few pieces away, or really, really, maybe not even a few pieces away, just a couple more years of experience. If you get Nick Bolton on your roster, I think he better serves you to just come in, be a boomstick, and you're not having to worry about working with Moses and carving out a bigger role for him because you have this specialty guy, you know what he's doing.
No, you're 100% right. You're getting him so that you can take your off-ball guy off, and when you're run committing, you're putting him in, and he's hitting the gap, and he's going to end the play before it starts.
Yeah, with specialists, it's not the worry of you're the jack of all trades. Will you ever be a master of one? You already know this kid's a master of something. anything else that develops past that's an added bonus. So Nick Bolton, I would have him as my linebacker 4 currently. I think.
I have Dylan Moses above him.
Which I can't blame you for.
That's just where I'm sitting at
Right.
because I still have faith that Dylan Moses is going to get back some of what he lost. Maybe not the speed, but I never for a second doubted his ability.
I hope all of this potential doubt that I'm putting on him, I hope he comes out and proves me wrong. I really do, because I don't dislike Moses as a player. I just have general worries now about what the injury report says. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the pick section. I've got my linebacker that I want to talk about. Topher's got his, and Topher, I'm going to let you kick this one off.
Well, Jabril Cox out of LSU has been my guy since like the beginning of this draft.
Since he was at NDSU.
He has been my dude. I'm a huge Jabril Cox guy, but he's my biggest maybe.
Okay.
Because he's like linebacker 7, 8.
Yeah,
Which perhaps it speaks to the talent in the draft class, or maybe it's just the fact that he's not getting as much love because he's not that boomstick. He's not your guy that's going to rush into the backfield and end the quarterback.
He's a smaller coverage guy.
And he showed that he can absolutely get after the quarterback. He got into the backfield at will when he was blitzed in the Senior Bowl. He really did. I'm not sure if you were watching, but he was in the backfield twice on 2 blitzes. And it was insane because he just has that level of athleticism and strength to get back there. Does he need to? No, because he rarely does because he's usually covering the middle of the field. Now, I don't know if his cover skills are going to transfer to the NFL. His athleticism and strength certainly will, but his ability to match hips and feet with tight ends and running backs in college, you don't always see that skill translate to the NFL when you get to harder guys to cover. I would like to see it happen. Mm-hmm. I don't know where he's going to land, but I hope wherever he lands, they know what to do with him so that he doesn't just fall by the wayside and just kind of like, vanish into, he was a 4th-round pick that just never panned out.
Yeah, I mean, because even if it's just like, okay, well, we have a guy that's old, you can sit for a year. Because that works. That's probably my preferred choice to do for almost every position. Yes. You'll give them a minute to collect their thoughts and watch the NFL game, or if you have somebody like whoever gets whoever gets Trey Lance, I think you should bring in Tyrod Taylor.
I agree, 100%.
If you have a guy who Mac Jones with Alex Smith, very similar play style. It's like if you have somebody who they can sit down and be like, "That's how I'm supposed to do it. That is the best way to do it." So if Jabril Cox, if you can find a guy who plays a similar style of ball and is a little bit on the older side, you could sit there and that maybe could become a yes.
If Thomas Davis stuck around, he would have been a perfect person to stick Jabril Cox behind.
Yeah, he just retired this year.
Yes, I know. But if he stuck around, he would have been a perfect person to just sit Jabril Cox behind and just be like, hey, this is how you play football. It would have been money. Thomas Davis was a perfect choice for that. But, alas, he's gone.
Yeah, it won't quite work out that way for Jabril Cox. But looking at my pick, I have somebody that I'm sure you guys expect, knowing how I am with people who have switched from position to a new position and have dominated, and how I am with just this family tree, apparently, because I'm pretty sure this was... His brother was my receiver superlative.
It was.
Yeah, my receiver superlative pick. Chaz Surratt for the uninitiated from North Carolina. He is my most ambitious. So I'm gonna take you down memory lane.
Okay.
The year is, I guess it'd be 2018. Or the off-season before 2019 season. I'm not setting the scene well, but you get the gist.
Oh. Yes, no, I can feel myself in the story.
There's a new head coach in town in North Carolina. Chaz Surratt is still a quarterback on the roster. He sits down, coach says that he's not going to be the starter, and he tells coach, I just want to get to the NFL. He says, all right, I think you'd be best suited at linebacker. They agree on it, and now he has been an electric factory since he's been it's lining up at linebacker. He has been knocking the doors down. Just looking at stats here, he's already from 2 years of playing linebacker. He has accrued 207 total tackles, 22 and a half tackles for loss, and 12 and a half sacks to go with 2 picks and 2 forced fumbles. That is your first 2 years in one position. There's just the reason he gets my most ambitious is because he makes the switch because he knows that that's how he gets to the NFL. He goes insane for those first 2 years, and now he's probably going to be a day 2 pick, and he'll just keep getting to work on it and keep improving.
Oh no, he'll only get better. He's I'd love to see him on a few different teams because I just think that he's a do-it-all type of backer. He's not necessarily he can read the quarterback's eyes well, but I don't know how he sits that well in zones. I think he's just looking at the quarterback and trying to read where he's going rather than actually cover what he's supposed to. When he mans up, he's certainly athletic enough to keep up with the college level linebackers. But right. I just want to see him keep developing when he gets to the NFL because that shit's just gonna be awesome.
I want to see him, Caleb Farley, and James Wiggins go to the same team.
Really?
Yes. So that makes it easier for whenever I want to be a homer and watch my 3 defensive guys from the class. I can just go to one game instead of 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely. I feel like there's definitely a team that's going to be like, I got to do this for Jackson, just so he doesn't have to watch multiple games.
I can't wait for whenever we're doing the gradings of the drafts like we usually do after the fact, and we're gonna be like, oh well, this team has like 4 of my favorite dudes. And I'm going to be like, oh, well, I guess I have to be a somewhat supporter of that team next year.
Well, think about it. If the Cowboys go with who they're projected, we're looking at Caleb Farley likely going to the Cowboys.
I can't cheer for the Dallas.
How about in the 2nd or 3rd round, they take Chaz Surratt?
I can't cheer for Dallas.
And then
I will just have to disown them, unfortunately enough.
And then they also take Marvin Wiggins, just because.
James Wiggins?
Marvin Wilson. Marvin Wilson and James Wiggins.
Those are both my guys. Don't do that to me, man.
What, they need interior line?
They don't need a linebacker, though. Let Surratt roam free. Let Surratt roam free. Just don't go to, like, Philly, and we'll be fine. But
he might end up there. They need linebackers.
They need more than one.
They need all of them.
Yeah.
Starting Duke Riley.
Have mercy on them. They're just an absolute mess right now. But that is the end of the Linebackers Superlative Show. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you don't already know, we have a Spotify link. You can listen to us just audio if you don't want to look at us. Or if you're on the Spotify, come to YouTube. We're on here if you do want to look at us. So both are options. Stitcher as well. But as always, I'm Jackson McCarty.
And I'm a Spotify rapper.
See you guys next time.
Please show me.